the April Public Safety meeting, Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Do a roll call.
James Schwender,
Present.
Ron Buckholz,
Present.
Ed Peters,
Present.
Dale Schluter,
Yeah.
Chuck Bennett.
Here.
Madam Clerk, are we in compliance with open meetings laws?
The meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Meeting agenda has been posted. Do any of the committee members need to change or any modifications to the agenda?
No.
Seeing none, moving on to public comment. Is there anybody here who is not on the agenda who wishes to address this committee? Olson, do I have anybody online with their hand raised?
Thanks, Paul.
Back here.
Oh, I got Miss Dennis. Miss Dennis, you have the floor.
Property owner in Winter. Anyway,
Someone find me a weapon.
anyway, I'm just here to say hi. I do miss everybody. Loved public safety. I try to listen as much as I can when it's working. But I'm especially proud of our law enforcement. Between the accidents they've dealt with and the drug, kudos to you. Thank you. Sandy, you know how I feel about your job. Pat?
The same way I do.
Anyway, I'm just here because some people miss me. So I thought I'd make your day.
Yay. It is better. Mr. Zufall, do you wish to address the committee? Mr. Zufall?
Hello? Not really. I just couldn't hear. I just couldn't hear the audio a while back. That was my only thing.
You can hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, moving on to number 6. The minutes for the March meeting. Has the committee had a chance to review the minutes? Mr. Buckholz.
I have reviewed the minutes and I make a motion to approve as presented, Mr. Chair.
A motion for Mr. Buckholz.
Second.
Second for Mr. Peters. Motion on the floor is to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, call for a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to number 7, judge's report. Is the judge available for to present a report? I don't see the judge. Item 7B, courtroom remodel update. Mr. Hott.
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of words on where we're at with that. The request for proposal is out on the street as far as lining up, getting bids for the construction manager who will be in charge of the construction of that project. So those RFP responses are due later this month, and then there'll be a selection committee of people that will go through those and help analyze those proposals that we get. There's at least 3 companies that we're aware of, 3 or 4 that we hope to be bidding on the project. So we should have some good competition and some qualified companies working on that project. So that's where we're at.
We have a timeline of when you think the project will be completed.
Construction would begin probably next spring with the completion. It's due to be completed prior to the date, what is that, the May 22, 23, whatever that date is.
When does the city do its part?
City has got a contractor for the construction of the extension of California Avenue, so that's underway. And then once that California Avenue is extended, then they'll begin the work of closing 5th Street. So I don't have the timeline on that, but the construction of California Avenue will be done this construction year, this spring.
Any questions regarding the courtroom remodel update? Hearing none, moving on to number 8, clerk of court reports. We have a report that's submitted by the Madam Clerk. Clerk is present. Floor is yours, ma'am.
Anybody have any questions on the report?
No questions. Anything else?
Nothing further to.
Thank you for your report. Moving on to number 9, district attorney. Assuming the district attorney is tied up in the board right now. Moving on to number 10, we have the child support department report. So Okamoto, the floor is yours.
Yes, I've got the resolution that you can all see that would assist with the Wisconsin Child Support Enforcement Association's legislators in trying to receive more funding for the child support program. It's a win-win. I've never known any county not to go along with it. Right now, 39 counties have approved with the other counties on their committee's agendas. I would like to receive permission for signature of the resolution.
So you're asking for what exactly are you looking for?
Yeah, the resolution is to request the funding, as Sandy mentioned. So this, if it is approved, would go to the county board, and then it would be forwarded on to the state legislators for recommendation that they approve the funding.
Do we need anybody to read it into the record?
No.
Okay. So you're just asking for a motion to advance this. If it's approved from here, from this committee, to advance it to the full board?
Correct.
Yes.
Did we have any legal look at it, or wasn't that necessary, Mr. Dahl?
Yes, legal did
Okay.
review. And this is, as Sandy mentioned, a kind of a form, a resolution that has gone around the state. And other counties are also requesting that the legislator looks at this funding.
Buckles.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the resolution for the increased county child support funding,
And
and then forward it on to the county board.
I have a motion for Mr. Buckles. I have a second for Mr. Schleter to approve this resolution and advance it to the full board for consideration at the next full board meeting, April 8th. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, call for a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries. Anything else to report, Ms. Okamoto?
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Sheriff's Department.
I'll just start off with,
You have to grab a mic.
I'll just start off with informing everybody, updating as far as the homicide last Friday morning. Our detectives, with the assistance of DOJ, DCI agents, are working diligently, putting in some long days with the assistance of the Wisconsin Crime Lab. And due to the circumstances there, we do not want to jeopardize the integrity of the investigation. So it's a little tough for us to release much more information than what we've released so far. But we just want everybody to know we definitely believe this is an isolated incident there, and the community is safe down there as far as we know, and believe that confidently as well. So we will keep everybody informed as we learn things, but until more is learned and things proceed forward here at this time, that's where we're at.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Someone's gonna do communications?
Not a lot on the communication center report this month. Our dispatch remodel project is nearing completion, and they'll begin moving in Friday with the aid of the IT department. So if you guys get a chance, stop in and look. It looks really professional.
We can all go inside the dispatch center.
Oh, we can escort you down there to take a look at it. So, and we finally finalized the contract with North Memorial for the pre-arrival medical instructions, which training will begin once dispatch gets back to where they belong. So,
What's the service?
pardon?
Could you repeat the service?
For pre-arrival medical instructions for the dispatch center. And call numbers are down this month. Total calls received for 2021 are 3,168, and total calls for service are 1,356. So volume's down a little bit. Thank you.
You. Control.
As you can see from my report, our numbers had a slight a decrease, 20 calls. No, it's going to have a little bit of a different numbering system right now until we get caught up, just based on the time the report is ran now, rather than from the month, the time when the clerk needs it for the reports. We also touched base with the new emergency preparedness coordinator at the Hayward Hospital. Thanks so much to Pat for forwarding some information to us. We took part in their lockdown exercise, and it was a great success. We hope to assist with future trainings out there and help bring Alice training back out there to the hospital. And we recently held a countywide school initiative safety meeting with the administrative heads from the different districts in our county. And we're going to try to do that on a regular basis so we can keep a good handle on school safety, bus safety, and anything else that might be input to our student bodies out there. Excellent. Thank you.
Morning. The report's up there. If you can see, compared to last month, our numbers, our average daily population numbers are up by almost 10. Electronic monitoring numbers are also up. They're down from the number on here, but that was a week ago. So there's people getting released from their sentences being done. Out of the average sentence incarceration, just over half of those are inmates waiting to go to prison. I know the Badger State Sheriff's Association is really pushing the Department of Corrections to start accepting new inmates to Dodge Correctional. We have been able to bring a few, but it's been 3-4 at a time, and they're spaced out pretty far. The state does continue to reimburse us for housing the state inmates though, so that's good. On top of that, I guess we opened up on-site visiting 2 days a week, effective last week. And on Tuesday, we worked it out with public health to come over and provide vaccines for inmates who wanted them. So roughly a third of the jail population opted to get the vaccine.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
When we start the construction, because I know it's not going to go up overnight, is the jail developing a plan for transporting the inmates over that have to appear in court, or we try to do that with Zoom?
Well, we're going to do as much as we can with Zoom. It's going to depend, because defense attorneys, on, I guess, kind of a random basis will request that their client appears in person, and we're going to have to probably take those on a day-to-day basis, depending on where the construction's at or where they're at on the street.
Because that's going to start happening when they pull up that water main. It's going to destroy the road,
right?
And that makes it's going to make it more circuitous route.
Yeah. If nothing else, if I even need to assist with escorting, so we have 2 deputies escorting an inmate over there, that's like the route we'll have to go.
I believe they just retired the water main in place under 5th Street. It'll just remain there, but it'll be inactive once the water main goes through California Avenue. So they don't have to rip up the road for the water main.
Oh. Okay. Well, we'll see how that develops later.
You said we're keeping more inmates, housing them for the state. What rate are they paying for us to house them?
I have to look. I believe it's $52 a day per inmate, or roughly about that.
What is the average cost that we actually incur?
Well, it's more than that. I forget when the last time Chief Weston, you ran the numbers. What did you come up with?
Almost 60.
Yeah, almost $60 a day, and that was several years ago. So it's that or a little more. And that takes into account everything: staffing, food, electric, everything.
Sure. Yeah, but that's a good fact to go on the CAT program too. Thank you.
So there was a question, I think it was 2 years ago. Is the air conditioning or the heating, has that been rectified?
Yes, they haven't. They finished it too late in the year last year to be able to try it out, but it's set, ready to go. So as soon as it starts warming up, they're going to fire it up.
Excellent. Any other questions for the Lieutenant? Communication Systems Specialist Report. That is available. I don't know who's going to speak to that. Is there any questions about that? That would be the artist formerly known as John Clerk. Moving on to the animal control report. Any questions regarding Sherry's report? Do we anticipate her return?
She has not indicated to us.
Anything else for the sheriff's department? Any questions, comments for the sheriff? Moving on to number 12, the coroner's report. Mr. Promo, are you still with us?
I am with us, but you might lose me. We're heading to post to the center of the county right now. I didn't submit a written report, as you can see. We've been kind of focused on this hoarding situation with Jim there. So he came to talk if I'm not around. We had that meeting with the Health and Human Services and Aging and Disability. And I think that went pretty good. There is some confusion on enforcement rules or if there are any zoning rules that get broken when people have unsafe living conditions or unsafe chemicals on their property. Kind of wanted to look in that more, but Jim could speak on that. You're probably going to lose me here in about 2 seconds. So.
Any questions for the coroner?
Okay, how I can give a little summary on our meeting. Like John was saying, I think it went very good with members that were there from those divisions, those departments. We were scheduled actually for 5 minutes on the agenda, but 55 minutes later, they finally went on to the next item. There was a lot of interest. A lot of people had a lot of questions. One of the questions, of course, well, legally, can we do this? John and I have talked about this, and I think actually what you should give direction to, if you wouldn't mind, is having either the legal counsel or maybe the staff within the county to research this and pull it up to see if there is something on the books already as far as ordinances that you might have already in place. John and I have done a little research, but I think if you got it from the staff, you would know what's there already and what we could work with. And then, of course, come back and report from there. And then I think one of the things that I didn't cover in the past that I've been thinking about that I think it should be brought up to your attention is that when we have officers, firefighters, and EMS responding to these calls, that some of them could be prevented. But some of the incidents that individuals are exposed to on sometimes a daily basis can have an effect on that person. If it's law enforcement especially, because they're going to see more of it than a lot of us, is critical incident stress. If you're not aware of what it is, over a period of time of broken bones, broken bodies, seeing death on the highway, seeing death in like this homicide, for instance, seeing death in the city, it has its toll on individuals. There was a case several years ago, I remember a whole family was killed down in Eau Claire. That had a big toll on the people that were there. 30-some years ago, I had the, I guess, luxury, you may say, of being selected to be have the training for one of the 10 critical incident stress debriefing individuals in Northwest Wisconsin, where we would go and try to help these people that were exposed to this sort of thing. To bring it more to light, one of the deputies here in Sawyer County I worked with last summer had a semi-truck fatality down the Loretta Draper area. 1 hour later, He was on a hazardous living type condition, death. When I arrived at the scene, I'll never forget what he told me. He says, Jim, this is really bad. I don't think I can go back in there again. He said, just go in and you'll see the bathroom on the right, and she's in there. Just be careful where you walk. I saw some red flags that went up for that officer, meaning it was bothering him. This call, the call he just had. The call he had previously, the semi-accident, we can't prevent that. They're going to happen all the time. But we're talking about today can be prevented. A lot of this can be cleaned up, and not 100%, nothing's 100%, but we can do our part
And so
to save an officer like that.
So what is it that you're asking from the committee?
What we're asking from the committee is to get a hold of your legal counsel or staff to see if we have something on the books already that we can work with.
What do you mean by something on the books? Because there's a lot.
As far as ordinance or something legally that will protect the county if we want to go into a place, or if we want to placard it, because we feel. And then the other thing is come up with a little checklist, a cheat list, where officers, firefighters, EMS can just look at it and say, okay, this, okay, this is something I should definitely report. And then have a committee, of course, formed within the county where we can actually get together and make a decision, and if it has to be placarded, we placard it.
All right,
Or
let's do this in increments, because I think that's a major project that you're asking for. So what we'll do is we'll just set this for next month's agenda. You can have Rebecca take a look at ordinance to see if something exists that addresses that. The other thing is I'm nervous about requiring training or directing departments or developing a policy for departments when I'm assuming the sheriff, you have training, you have protocols that deal with your deputies, because I mean there are major events that happen, and but in every instance that I've heard about, I've only heard the standard of excellence that Sawyer County has been establishing for EMS, for its fire, so I'm assuming that there must be something in place already that addresses that. So I don't want to re-examine this to the point where we're examining what the role of the government is supposed to be in this. So let's take one step and let's have legal look at the ordinances to see if something comports with what the coroner's office is requesting, and then we'll come back and look at that next month. And then clearly we've got everyone on notice now. And we got all the public safety departments here. We can address the critical stress training and move accordingly. Does that resolve that, Mr. Peters? I have actually Mr. Schluter than Mr. Peters.
Fine. I can't think of the name of the program, but the employees have a program available to them. What is it?
Employee assistance program.
the
Employee assistance.
county has
And
something
use
in
has
place.
been made of that availability in the past.
Yeah, the employee assistance program that we have, they also specialize in law enforcement and that sort of thing. And maybe the sheriff could respond to that as far as how they've used that program. But yeah, it is in place, and employees have used that, especially in those difficult situations.
So I respect what you're saying, Jim, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
No, we don't. And there is a good program in place already as far as critical incident stress. But what I'm trying to say is by cleaning up some of these places and getting rid of some of this, there'll be less exposure for our emergency workers. I mean, if we can prevent some of these places and try to clean some of these places up and help some of these people, they just mentally, they have a problem and they need help. So if we can eliminate some of those places in the county, it'll be less exposure for all of us that are working in emergency services.
Mr. Peters.
I just had a question. I hope that this is along the same line.
I've had a couple calls from people asking about, shall we say, accumulations of junk vehicles and all sorts of other outdoor hazards. Does this need to be included in this? Most we've been talking about has been interior, but the exterior, especially if it's covered with snow or something like that, trying to be able to even access the building could be, is hazardous.
Right. It would be for firefighters, obviously,
Yes,
too.
yes.
But, and of course, rodents, and, I mean, the health department, we talked about that. Yeah, they are interested in that. I mean,
Okay.
is it a place for housing of rodents and animals and so forth? Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding this topic? All right, so we'll just, we'll have legal look at this and go back with some information for next month. Thank you for your report. Moving on to number 13, Ms. Sanchez, the floor is yours.
You have my report in front of you. Does anybody have any questions?
Gotta give us something more. I mean, you're here, you're a person,
Well,
sing a
today,
song, got some cover,
well, today's
something.
my golden anniversary of working here, 8 years on the 8th today. Yeah. In total, so that's a good thing. I'm pretty much just up to my eyeballs in COVID, working with public health on the vaccinations, and also we've reestablished the testing at the Winter Fire Hall on Wednesday. Yesterday, we only saw 5 come through, the previous week 2, so I don't know how long that's going to really last. But the National Guard is the one that's doing it, but I'm on site assisting it. Otherwise, I'm still having to do all my plan of work for the state so we can get our funding. I have a large statewide exercise virtual tomorrow morning, and then I've been recruited to help with a nationwide exercise with 30 different states at Wolf Field in June. And I've got a small component to be the facilitator and moderator for a component of that, which then gives me my, all these acronyms, HC, Homeland Security Exercise Planning Credit. And then I have a hazmat regional one set in September between Bayfield, Ashland, and Sawyer. That's what I've been working on. Oh, and we were on a 5-day search in Ashland.
Any questions for Ms. Sanchez?
I have a question because when I bring up the emergency management, I just get the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's number 13 on the list, that's why. Say that's what it is. Yeah, it's number 13.
So thank you for being present and helping us overcome our own technical difficulties. No questions for Ms. Sanchez? Moving on to number 14, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council update. Council met yesterday. Justice Point is in place and is undertaking services with the bond testing, working on some other diversion programs for people that are on bond, trying to, well, diversion is still being defined. A subcommittee was formed to work on developing the needs for the TAD grant application process, which is going to be open in, I think opens in September or October. The TAD grant is a state grant that would provide assistance, funding assistance for drug court and other prevention type of activities. So that committee is going to be meeting bi-monthly, and its composition is in question. Mr. Hoff is going to have the illustrious duty of solving the questions that arise from that. Any questions regarding the CJCC update? Moving on to number 15, Mr. Dunstan.
So currently, for staffing wise, we have 2 open positions. We do have 2 staff that are in orientation right now. We are, as always, we always have been, a pretty big, significant clinical site for EMT students, which is, and paramedic students, which is really, really good because that helps with their recruitment process. This month, we have a student every day of the month. So different ones. And we do, I think yesterday we just had one student from the cable area. So maybe, you know, if we can show them a good time and show that it's a great place to work, then maybe they'll apply here and we can fill those 2 positions. Last night I started the EMS leadership course, which I did last year in January. I'm doing it again with Dan Williams. Some of you might remember Dan Williams, who was one of the consultants that came up for the full-time service. He and Dana is a gentleman that I believe operates Wisconsin Dells EMS, pretty big with legislation too. It's next 7 weeks, 1 night a week, so it's every Wednesday. But it's an amazing course, and like I told them last night, there's 24 in this class. You miss things as you go through it, so I'm hoping to get something out of this time through. I think I'm the only one that's done it before, so. But anyways, so just so you do know that I've been doing that. We've been having, I think 3 meetings with the billing company. We had this Brian Brazil who took over. He's now in charge of expertise billing. Some of it has been working on old claims that we wanted the previous owner to do. We actually have seen that they're doing that. We've been getting a lot of invoices and statements sent back to us for bad addresses, which, we hadn't really been seeing before, but they changed their process where I think all the mail comes back here with our address. We had some issues with that previously where they would put like a Hibbing address and then people would call us like, is this fake? Is this some type of scheme? So we're actually seeing them working through the old stuff. Every week on Wednesday, the treasurer's office deposits money. And yesterday we had 24,000 that deposited in. We don't know the breakdown on that yet, if that's old or if that's a new. I'm guessing it's probably a mix of both, but that is a record for the treasurer's office in 1 week. So we're still having I think there's another meeting next week. I think Monday with them. So hopefully we get more good news. Also next week for training, we do have a pre-hospital trauma life support class, which I think it's been years since we've had one here. It's been very, very hard to get, but it's fully paid for by the Office of Rural Health and the RTAC Association or RTAC Group, Regional Trauma Advisory Council. So we have no money that's really being tied into that besides just paying staff for their time. Call volume's been down a little bit, but I do want to just kind of say that I think Tuesday, they had 6 calls in 6 hours. So the calls are still there. It's still happening. It's just kind of been the lull lately before the summer. But that's happening. That's a pretty crazy day. If you remember that most calls take about an hour to complete. So, but we didn't have to call being Schley. We didn't have to do anything. We were able to do that. So the system is working. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you guys.
Any questions for Mr. Dumpster?
With regard to billing, is there an effort to obtain Medicare numbers from people who are transported? Because I just received a telephone call from someone that had been transported and apparently it had never been submitted to Medicare.
So that's part of this ongoing issue that we've had with this company.
Okay.
Some of the follow-up. I don't do that.
Okay.
Normally what will happen is ambulance crews will get what they call the face sheets. Face sheets from hospitals have the insurance information on them. But by the time that our crews drop the patient off, they may not have been updated.
Sure.
So what the billing company should do, or the patient should do, is call into the company and go, hey, I have this insurance, or I have this. Now, if it's a no load, if it's a no transport, and we've done something, to tell you that normal insurance will not pay for that. That will be a self-pay, even Medicare. So that charge they will have to pay for. But I know we had an issue with their insurance portal that we found out about last month for Medicaid. So we're seeing a lot of the resubmits that are coming through for that too. But yeah, I would just have a conversation with the insurance company and kind of talk with them because they're the billing people, not me or some of these other.
Okay.
Staff.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it was just okay. Thank you.
Yep. No problem.
One question. Do you ever, does your report include any out-of-county assistance, like if you got called somewhere else's mutual aid or?
Yeah, so we don't have it broke down in our charting system to do that, but I can easily get that from Maureen Dispatch. Not really. Let me rephrase that. We don't do it that often, but like out of county would be still our Washburn Township, which is still our area, you know. We do that quite a bit, but we get reimbursed, you know, we charge for that. The only other time that we really go out of county would be ours, which we have agreements with them, and we don't do that as much as we used to do.
I was just wondering, because I know it was brought up a couple months ago that some counties were not able to respond. And I'm actually curious if Sawyer County was filling that gap or.
No, we've only, since January when they didn't have ambulance crews, we've only had one call up there. Yeah, one called Clam Lake, and I believe they transferred up to Ashland, so that was a 3-hour ordeal for us.
Sweeter.
You say you're not doing that?
We haven't been requested, except for one.
Okay, so you are available to do it. You are expected to do it?
No. So I talked to DHS, Department of Health and Human Services, that runs the state. And our regional person said, and I blatantly said, I said, well, how are we supposed to do this if maybe we don't have crews? I mean, we're going to come into busy season pretty quick. And he said, it's not mutual aid because they don't have a service. Exactly. We are not required to respond. If you do not have a crew, you do not leave your area. That's what he said. There is no legal obligation for us to do that.
And then Washburn, what's our arrangement with Washburn County?
Washburn County, we just have the 3 townships. Stone Lake, Bass Lake, and part of Birchwood, half of Birchwood Township. So we do have, we charge them every year to cover them. So we do have that arrangement. So that is our area. We consider it.
Any other questions for Mr. Dunstan? Thank you for your report, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 16. In a fit of mania, I was reviewing the county board rules and saw in there that of the subcommittees that existed under the county's authority, only one committee had submitted their mission statement. And so I looked at other counties and prepared what would be a draft document for this committee to review. It's a mission statement for public safety, kind of outlines some of the responsibilities and duties that we've been doing over the years. And it's presented to you all today for review and possible action. The only action that would really be is, well, 2 actions. One is to tell me to quit reading stuff and writing stuff and sending stuff to committee. Or the other one would be to review it and then advance it to the county board, because this would be an addition to the county board rules. Peters.
Yes, sir. I have a question. In my former life, writing mission statements was a part of my job. And I thought, well, the rules that I generally followed was that everybody in the organization should be able to recite that mission statement by memory. I can't memorize this. And now there are other things on here besides just the mission. And I guess my concern would be to get the mission statement down to, I'd like to get it down to 10 words, but that may not be possible. But I tried something, and that the mission would be review public safety issues affecting Sawyer County and recommend actions and policies to the county board as far as the mission is concerned. The rest of the materials here are all important as far as detail, but something short enough that we can mostly remember it on our own. But that's just my comment. Otherwise, it looks good.
Any other comments or questions regarding that? Don't read this and think that I am not a mission statement writer. I am merely trying to, as a committee chair, fulfill what is the obligation that Mr. Hoff had asked us many, many years ago, and finally was able to remember. We were supposed to be, there was a standing request for all the committees to develop a mission statement to present that to the county board, and only recently have we been able to really move on that. So Mr. Hoff has asked numerous times to the point where I think he just gave up asking us. So this is only my draft suggestion. It doesn't need to be incorporated, doesn't even need to be reviewed. If you're not comfortable with it, if you think it needs more work, you can always send it to legal, because that's an easy task to do. If you guys want to take your own shot at it, that's fine as well. I mean, it's already past the deadline, but this was just a draft attempt to try to, I guess, get the conversation started.
I don't know, Mr. Chair, I've read this a couple times and I don't see. I mean, I can understand Mr. Peters, a little lengthy, but how many people on the county board are going to reckon for review all these and keep it locked up in their head? That's not going to happen. To me, I make a motion to approve this mission statement that as presented.
Motion for Mr. Buckholz.
I'll second.
I have a second for Mr. Van Etten. The motion is to approve the document and then advance it for consideration to the full board, probably at the next normally scheduled meeting. You agree with that motion, Mr. Buckholz?
Yes.
Mr. Van Etten, do you agree that that is the motion you second?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Hoff.
Could you describe what you mean in number 5 in the duties and responsibilities?
I have no idea. Delegate operational procedures and practices to appropriate administrative committees and departments of the county. I would think that duties and responsibilities of the Public Safety Committee would be included to delegate operational procedures and practices to appropriate administrative committees. I'm going to guess that was copy and pasted from something else that I found. So that could be modified in the agenda. I think what it was is I'm trying not to have this committee be it's a rule. It's an advisory oversight / advisory committee to provide assistance to the operations of the departments. And so this is a way of making sure that the oversight is still being met, but deferring to that committee or to the, I should probably say, administrative or agencies. We could strike that. If it takes longer than 2 sentences to explain something, probably.
Yeah, my issue wasn't with it was the delegation of operational procedures, which, I mean, this committee doesn't delegate operational procedures. It can formulate policy, and that was the issue I had with it, or question I had with it.
So if we did a motion to strike number 5 from that document, is that something that the committee would consider? Could be a motion within the motion.
Okay, I can add that in my motion, yes.
Technically, probably not.
No?
You could make a second motion.
Okay, I'll make a second motion to strike number 5 on the duties and responsibilities of the Public Safety Committee.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
The second, Commissioner Peters. So on the motion to strike number 5 on the draft document, any discussion on that motion? Hearing no discussion, call for a vote on that. All in favor of striking number 5, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Going back to the original motion to approve this document and advance it to the county board for final approval and integration. Any discussion on that motion?
I just wanted to clarify that my comments were only with regard to the initial paragraph mission purpose and not the rest of the materials presented here. And so that's, but I will, that's my only comment.
No one's ever accused me of being short-winded. So let's do a vote on this motion. All in favor of advancing, all in favor of the motion to advance this, approve it from the committee and advance it to the full board for final approval and integration, indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Aye. One opposition. Any abstentions? Motion carries 3-1-0. I didn't vote. Do I vote on motions? Then I vote in favor, so 4-1-0. Thank you. Moving to number 17, future agenda items. Is there anything that the committee would like to add for next month's agenda? Hearing none, moving on to number 18. Any correspondence, reports, or conferences and other matters for discussion only? Is there anything that the committee would like to discuss that wasn't on the agenda? Mr. Bennett, do you have anything you wish to add?
I do not. Thank you.
Hearing nothing, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.